Hello, I'm going to show you how to do a basic hem. I'm doing it on this little pair of shorts. You can do this hem with almost any type of pants, and you can easily adjust the size of the hem by just giving yourself a little extra room to work with. And with jeans, it's often a pretty small hem, about a ½ inch. And with twill pants or other types of fabrics, sometimes lighter weight fabrics, often will have a bigger hem, like as big as an inch or even more. So you can easily adjust that. So what I have today is some denim thread, jeans thread. It's a little bit thicker than your regular thread. And this is just a spool of regular thread. I just wanted to show the difference here. In order to use this stuff, you're gonna need to use either a jeans needle or a chop stitching needle. And that's because the eye is bigger and it allows the thicker thread to go through a little more easily. Now some machines don't like this thread very much at all, and it's just a pain in the butt. So you can try it. Always test it with a scrap first and see how you handle it. I have a couple of tips later on about how to do that. Another option is to use just your jeans thread only in your bobbin, and just to use a regular thread in the top part of the sewing machine. And that way you still get the look of the thick thread that shows on the outside of the hem, but your machine doesn't have to deal with the heavier thread in the top, and this is just going to be underneath, so it won't show as much. And on top of thread, we're going to also need something to measure with. A handy little sewing gauge is nice. And this is a marking tool, and you can just use any kind of marker if you want, but this is a little chalk wheel that I really love, and it works great on denim. It shows up really well. So the first thing we need to do is fold up the jeans or the pants to be the desired length. Now I already cut these off, but I don't want them this long, so what you want to do is tuck them up so that the extra is inside the pant leg. And it is a good idea to try these on if you have the person with you, but if not, you can measure, and you just want that nice and smooth and straight, and then when you have it how you want it, then you're just going to press that. And you want to make sure you have a really nice crease. And then you'll do the other leg the same. So the next thing we need to do is open up what you folded. And the reason why we need such a good crease is because we're going to be measuring from that line. So if you can't see it very well, maybe just do a little mark on your crease so that it's a little bit easier to see. And we're going to be measuring 1 inch down from that crease and marking all around, because that's going to be our cutting line. And then the same thing on the other side. Now it may be tempting to just cut right across, but that's a bad idea, because you want to make sure that you're cutting one layer at a time so that you're actually cutting where you need to cut. So get into your circle just with a little small cut, and then cut just one layer. And we're cutting right on that white line, so it's 1 inch down from your fold. The next thing we need to do, we're going to fold the new raw edge up towards that first crease we made, and then fold it one more time, and that's going to be our new hem. So we're going to do this with the iron to press it really nicely. So I'm going to be using the hammer to soften those thick edges, and this is a really thick seam right here because it's a heavy denim, and we need to be able to fold that 2 times and sew through that. And it would be almost impossible with a regular machine unless you hammer it. So first I'm going to hammer it open like this. Then I'm going to do my first fold. And then the last one. And it's much thinner. I think I'm going to be able to sew through that no problem. I'm going to also do it right here. It's not as much because it's not top stitched, and I'll be able to flip the seam so that it's not all in the same spot. So I have half of it that way, half of it that way. A small fold, and then back to my original fold. And now we'll go press the rest of it. So now we'll be folding that raw edge up towards the crease. Press it a little bit there, fold it all the way up like this. Okay, it's all good. And you can put pins in it if you want, or even wonder clips, because it's a short hem. The wonder clips will hold that in place. And before we start sewing, I want to take a look at what's going to be the most visible part of it. So I often like to start sewing close to a seam because that's where your back stitch is going to show, but I'm going to choose closer to the inseam because that will not show as much as the outside seam. So I'm going to start sewing right here at this point. I'm going to turn this inside out. Get right in here. And we want to be sewing fairly close to that top fold right here. So one thing I'm going to do before I start sewing is I'm going to increase my stitch length, and I'm going to bring it up to 3. And another thing I'll do is I'm going to make the tension a little bit looser to allow for the thicker thread to go through a little bit more easily, because I have denim thread in both the top and bottom. And something that you can do if you find your machine does not like denim thread, but you still want the look of that jeans thread, you could try putting the jeans thread just in the bobbin and see how that does, and just do a regular thread on top, and you can just keep using the jeans needle. You can try different situations and see how it works out. And you might just have to use regular thread if your machine just hates it. Okay, so it was a little thick, but I'm just gonna walk it through. So you can see here that the stitches are much bigger, and that's just actually skipped stitches because it was so thick that the threads actually weren't catching. So I hammered it again, and I'm not gonna cut out that thread at all. I'm just gonna go again and just overlap that a little bit, and I'm doing that from the top this time. It looks like it liked it a little bit better that time. So there it is, it's done.